Have you ever wondered why some people, no matter how many years go by, never seem to get sick? It doesn't matter if they've endured harsh winters, lived through loss, or taken more hits than blessings in life. They're still standing. Meanwhile, others, carrying far less, seem to fall apart with every cold, every heartache, every setback. And don't tell me it's just luck or good genes, because the truth is much more uncomfortable than that. I'm Gabriel, and today I want to pull you out of that convenient idea that aging automatically means decline and resignation. Because it doesn't. And if you're here, deep down you already know there's another way, that there are still things within your control. That the difference between dragging your feet through life or staying strong doesn't depend on your kids, your doctor, or your retirement check. It depends on the secrets you choose to put into practice every day. I'm not talking about magic potions or trendy remedies. I'm talking about ancient habits, wisdom that has stood the test of time, and that the longest living people have understood better than anyone. Simple things, but powerful, things most people have forgotten. But not you. You're here to remember them and put them into action. And if you stick with me until the end, I promise the final secret won't just change your health, it will change the way you face life. So stay with me, because what's coming isn't just about living longer. It's about living with dignity, independence, and above all, strength. Let's begin. Number 1, stop feeding your illnesses before they show up. Have you noticed that most people only start worrying about their health when it's already too late? When the body sends the bill, when their blood pressure spikes, when the diagnosis comes in, cold and quiet, like a letter no one wants to open. We get used to putting out fires, but we rarely stop to think about how to keep them from starting. We complain about aging, about feeling tired, about losing strength with every passing year. But few ask what kind of fuel they've been throwing on the fire that's slowly burning them out. Let me be blunt. Illnesses don't appear overnight. They're not divine punishments or random biological accidents. They're the accumulated result of small, everyday decisions that seem harmless but add up over time. That fast food you grabbed on the go, that anger you've been holding in for years, that comfy chair you sank into for hours, days, months, while your body rusted and your mind dimmed. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and Stoic, understood this better than anyone. He said, "The life of a man is what his thoughts make of it." But it's not just our thoughts, it's also our habits, those quiet, seemingly insignificant actions we choose or don't. Every choice is a seed, and if you're not paying attention, one day you wake up surrounded by a diseased forest, with roots so deep you don't even know where to start cutting. Modern science backs this up. Studies on epigenetics have shown we're not prisoners of our genes. They're not an unbreakable sentence. What we eat, what we think, what we feel, these things turn genes on or off. In other words, you can either be the architect of your health or an accomplice to your illness. It doesn't matter if you're 50, 60, or 70 years old. As long as you're breathing, you still get to choose. Now, I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty, but to set you free. Because what seems unchangeable today can shift. Don't wait for pain to force your hand. Don't live fixing the problem after it's already exploded. Prevention isn't just for the young. It's the privilege of those who've learned, often the hard way, that real strength lies in staying one step ahead, in refusing to feed the enemy before it even has a name. So think about it. What are you planting in your body and mind today? Because what you allow in, even if it seems harmless, shapes not just your arteries, your heart, or your bones, but the quality of life you'll have tomorrow. And if you think this first secret is powerful, wait until you hear what's next. In the next chapter, we're diving into something most people don't take seriously, but that wise men throughout history treated as a secret weapon for staying strong, even when everything around them was falling apart. Don't miss it. Number 2, learn to rest. Like a wise man, not like a slave to exhaustion. Many people believe that rest is a reward you earn only when you're completely worn out, that only after working yourself to the bone, after carrying everyone else's burdens, is it acceptable to close your eyes and shut the world off. But let me tell you a story that proves otherwise, a story that's centuries old, but belongs to you today. In 17th century feudal Japan, there was a warrior named Miyamoto Musashi. He wasn't just any samurai, he was a master of combat, known for winning over 60 duels to the death. Most would assume a man like that lived constantly on edge, tense, always alert like a predator ready to strike. But Musashi had a curious habit. He would sleep deeply before every battle, even if the fight was at dawn. He didn't sleep out of exhaustion, he slept strategically. He knew the mind and body could only perform if given that calm space beforehand, a moment of disconnection. While others spent the night replaying their fears, he rested as if nothing threatened him. His philosophy, shaped by Zen Buddhism, taught that rest isn't a break, it's a discipline, a silent preparation for the storm. Now look at yourself. How many nights have you wasted turning over thoughts that solve nothing? How much weight have you dragged into bed, thinking that if you don't obsess over the problem, it won't get fixed? We live in a society that glorifies exhaustion as if it were a badge of honor and looks down on conscious rest as if it were a luxury or a weakness. And this is where Stoicism and Zen meet. Control over your life begins in calm, not in chaos. Even modern science has caught up to this truth. Recent sleep studies show that the quality of your rest doesn't just affect your energy, it impacts your immune system, your memory, even the health of your arteries. Poor rest, researchers say, is like leaving the door wide open for illness to walk right in. But it's not enough to sleep just for the sake of it. You have to quiet the inner noise. Musashi didn't rest because he was naive or unaware of the danger. He rested because he knew that if he let his mind run wild, it would become his greatest enemy. So the next time you feel like you can't afford to rest, ask yourself, do you want to be the master of your strength or a slave to your exhaustion? Because those who only rest when their bodies give out are letting life make the decisions for them. And if you think this is eye-opening, wait until I tell you why sometimes resting isn't enough to heal. Sometimes you have to learn to let go. That's what we'll explore next. Number 3, fast not just from food, but from the excess that makes you sick. I want to suggest an exercise. No, it's not complicated. In fact, it's so simple you might think it won't make a difference. But I promise you, if you do it right, you'll feel a profound shift in how you experience today and the days ahead. Tomorrow, when you wake up, before reaching for your coffee, your toast, or your phone, pause. Don't just fast from food for a few more hours. Do a full fast, from complaints, from toxic news, from thoughts that only feed your anxiety. Stay with your breath, with a glass of water, and watch how your mind reacts. At first, it'll get restless. It'll seek distraction, craving something to fill the void, because it's not used to feeling light. But that's the key. Give your body and your spirit an empty space, free from the noise you usually let in. The Stoics spoke about the power of voluntary deprivation. Seneca said that from time to time, we should feel cold, hunger, or discomfort, even if it's not necessary, just to train the soul not to depend on external comforts. Not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood that dependency on food, on comfort, on negative emotions is a subtle form of slavery. Today, neuroscience backs this up. Studies on intermittent fasting show it not only helps cleanse the body, but also activates processes that repair cells, reduce inflammation, and even improve mental clarity. But what few people practice is the other kind of fasting, emotional fasting. Because what good is it to clean your stomach if you're filling your mind with resentment, fear, and emotional excess that weighs more than any meal? I want you to try this experiment for just one day. Eat your first meal later, but more importantly, fast from everything you usually allow to invade your peace. Pay attention to how your body feels, but also your mind. And if by the end of the day you notice even a little more lightness, then you'll understand that control isn't found out there. It's in what you choose not to consume. If this video has given you something useful so far, I want to ask you a favor. Subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and if you've ever tried a fast like this, not just from food, but from emotions and thoughts that don't serve you. I love reading your messages and seeing this community grow stronger, more conscious, and more awake. Remember this: often, what makes us sick isn't what we lack. It's everything we've accumulated and haven't had the courage to let go of. True well-being begins when we choose to empty ourselves, so we can finally be filled with what really matters. Number 4, keep your blood young by moving your body even when the years weigh you down. Let me hit you with a fact you might not expect. The blood in your body takes less than a minute to travel through your entire circulatory system. In under 60 seconds, that red river flows through your heart, lungs, limbs, brain, everything. Now think about this: if your blood is fast, vital, and relentless, why do so many treat it like a stagnant stream? The answer is simple, but uncomfortable. As we age, we become sedentary, not just in the body, but in the mind. We start to accept stiffness and stillness as if they were a natural sentence of getting older. But they're not. Nature itself teaches us that anything that doesn't flow dies. A still river rots, an unmoving artery hardens, a spirit without momentum fades away. Doctors have been warning us for decades about how important movement is for heart health, but this isn't about hitting the gym or running marathons. Let me tell you something even more powerful. Movement isn't just for your body. It's a way to remind your soul that it's still alive. Every step you take, every stretch, every walk in the sun is a message you send to your cells, to your blood, to your heart. You're telling them, I still have direction. I'm still flowing. I haven't given up. Try it right now. Stand up, even if just for a minute. Walk slowly across the room, but do it consciously. Feel your feet against the floor. Feel your muscles waking up. Feel your breath going a little deeper. It's no coincidence that the longest-living cultures, like the people of Okinawa or certain Mediterranean communities, never stopped moving, even if only in small ways. They understand that movement isn't just physical, it's a daily affirmation that life is still in motion. Ask yourself, where in my life have I let the river stop flowing? What small decisions, what rusted routines have convinced me there's no need to move, to explore, to push forward? Exercise, even the lightest kind, isn't just a remedy for the body, it's a philosophical statement. Marcus Aurelius said, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee," and your body is the hive. If one part stops moving, the whole system begins to fall apart. So the next time you think it's not worth it to take that extra walk, to stretch when you wake up, or to dance alone in your kitchen, remember this: every movement is an antidote to premature aging, not just of the body, but of the soul. Because vitality isn't lost with age, it's lost the day you choose to stop flowing, and as long as the river runs, life continues. Number 5, protect your mind from the poison of complaints. There's a silent illness that doesn't show up in blood tests or routine checkups. It doesn't have a fancy name or a quick fix, but its symptoms are clear: constant fatigue, bitterness, and a weariness that isn't physical. It's existential. I'm talking about the habit of complaining. It's easy to fall into, especially when life has already thrown enough your way, when your children are far, when your health wavers, when it feels like the world keeps spinning without stopping to ask how you're doing. Complaining feels like a valid release. What's so wrong with expressing discomfort? But there's a hidden trap. Constant complaining doesn't relieve, it poisons. It's like taking small daily doses of venom, thinking it will make you stronger, when in fact, it slowly wears down your spirit. Seneca wrote, "While we complain about our misfortunes, we only add to them." No phrase better captures the nature of this poison, because every time we dwell on what we lack, on what didn't go as planned, all we're really doing is adding more weight to the pain. We feed the wrong wolf. Neuroscience backs this up too. It's been shown that the brain strengthens neural pathways the more we repeat certain thoughts or behaviors. If you make space for complaints every day, that path becomes a highway. Your mind, without realizing it, starts to search for more reasons to complain, more flaws, more invisible enemies. And the result is clear: stress, anxiety, even physical decline all get worse. Now, this isn't about denying the hard stuff. No one's asking you to pretend everything is fine when it's not. But you do have the power to choose how you respond to it. This is where Stoicism offers a powerful antidote. The Stoics taught that control lies in your response, not in the event. You can't stop bad things from happening, but you can stop them from taking you hostage. So I want to offer you something. The next time you feel that almost automatic urge to complain, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, will saying this change anything? Will it make me freer? If the answer is no, stay silent, not to suppress yourself, but to protect yourself. That pause is a small act of rebellion against the poison. Christian tradition also speaks of the power of inner silence. St. Francis of Assisi once said, "Start by doing what is necessary, then what is possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible." Sometimes, what's necessary is simply not adding more weight to your soul with words that don't build. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every complaint is a weed, fast-growing, invasive, stealing space from your flowers. But every time you choose not to speak it, it's like pulling that weed before it takes over. Slowly, you reclaim your ground, your peace, your ability to see beyond the immediate problem. And maybe you'll discover something surprising, that life, even with all its imperfections, still holds moments worth living without complaint. That real strength doesn't come from resisting what you can't change, but from refusing to let it change who you are inside. Because the one who controls their tongue controls their destiny, and the one who learns to protect their mind from poison has found a medicine no doctor can prescribe. Number 6, eat with the awareness of someone who honors life, not someone who wastes it. Eating is one of the simplest, most automatic acts of our lives. So automatic, in fact, that we rarely stop to think about what it really means. Most people chew without looking, swallow while scrolling through their phone, fill themselves out of habit, without asking whether they're truly nourishing their body or just trying to fill a void that has nothing to do with hunger. But let me ask you something directly. How many times in the past few years have you eaten as if your meal was sacred, a ritual that honors life? I'd wager very few. Not because you lack the will, but because we've been taught to see food as nothing more than fuel. Something you consume quickly in between obligations without giving it much thought. And that's where one of the most silent, aging mistakes begins. Because when you eat without awareness, without respect, you're not just missing out on flavor, you're missing a chance to heal from within. The Stoics spoke about self-control, not just over emotions, but over pleasures too. Epictetus said, "Do you want to be invincible? Then don't get involved in battles that don't depend on you." Eating mindfully is exactly that kind of battle, the kind you can win. It doesn't matter if you have a fortune or a tight pension, if you're alone or surrounded by family. You choose what goes on your plate, how you receive it, and what attitude you bring to the table. Modern science backs this up as well. The practice known as mindful eating has shown real benefits: better digestion, regulated appetite, reduced stress, and lower inflammation. But beyond the studies, there's something deeper. Eating with awareness is a declaration of respect for your body. It's recognizing that every bite is part of the chain that sustains your health, your vitality, your independence. Try it at your next meal. Sit down, no distractions, look at the food in front of you and think about everything it took to get there: the earth, the sun, human effort. Be grateful. Chew slowly, not just so your body can process it better, but so your mind understands that this ordinary act can also be an act of power, of presence. Remember, aging isn't the problem. The problem is reaching old age without the habits that nourish you, strengthen you, restore your dignity. Every meal can be medicine or a burden. You decide. Because eating isn't just about staying alive. It's about how you choose to live. And when you eat with the awareness of someone who honors life, you're not just feeding your body, you're feeding your spirit. And that, believe me, is the nourishment we need most. Number 7, surround yourself with silence before letting in useless noise. We live surrounded by noise, not just the kind that comes from traffic, the TV, or the constant buzz of the outside world. There's another kind, more dangerous, a noise you can't hear, but you can feel: mental noise. The non-stop chatter of worries, complaints, comparisons, and the voices of others that have taken up space in your head like uninvited guests you don't know how to send away. The problem isn't that the world is noisy. The problem is that we've lost the ability to seek and value silence. And when I say silence, I don't just mean the absence of sound. I'm talking about that inner space where you can finally hear yourself, where you're not swept away by opinions, alarming headlines, or other people's demands. A space where you can truly live in your own life, undisturbed. The Stoics understood that silence isn't emptiness, it's refuge. Marcus Aurelius, in the middle of military campaigns and the weight of being emperor, found in silent meditation the only place where he could bring order to his mind. He wrote, "Perfect tranquility consists in the good ordering of the mind, in your own kingdom." It wasn't about running away from the world, but about not letting the world take over his inner self. Christian tradition also honors silence. In the old monasteries, monks understood that without moments of retreat, without long pauses for the soul, you end up living according to the loudest voices around you. They didn't keep silent to punish speech, but to clearly hear what truly matters. So let me ask you, when was the last time you were really in silence? No TV in the background, no radio filling the space, no need to fill the air with empty words. When was the last time you were alone with yourself and didn't feel uncomfortable? Try it, even just tonight. Turn everything off. Sit in a quiet corner, close your eyes, and stay there for a few minutes. At first, you'll probably feel uneasy. Thoughts will rush in, distractions will try to sneak through. But if you stick with it, if you push through that first wall, you'll start to notice something different. You'll realize how much unnecessary weight you've been carrying, how much noise you've allowed in without even noticing. Silence is an act of rebellion in a world that never stops shouting. It's where you reclaim your power. It's where you decide which thoughts deserve to stay and which are just echoes of fear, habit, or someone else's inertia. And maybe there, in the silence you chose for yourself, you'll find the answer you've been looking for, not out there, not in the voices that fill your days, but in that quiet place inside you that's always been waiting to be heard. Because in the end, only the one who dares to live in their own silence can live with true clarity. Number 8, forgive quickly, not for them, but for you. I want to offer you a simple challenge, one that carries deep weight. It doesn't require changing your diet, walking miles, or dedicating hours of your day. It only asks for a quiet, intimate act, one that can transform not just your emotional state, but your physical health as well. Forgive before you go to sleep. Don't get me wrong, I'm not asking you to justify what was done to you or to downplay the wounds others may have caused. I'm asking you, just for tonight, to let go of the weight, to stop carrying around someone else's mistakes like chains wrapped around your body. Try it tonight. Before you go to bed, think of that person who still lingers in your mind with resentment. Maybe it's a distant child, an old friend who broke your trust, a family member who wasn't there when you needed them most. And decide, not because they deserve it, but because you do, not to carry that weight to your pillow. The Stoics were masters of this practice. Epictetus reminded us, it's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Holding on to anger is choosing to stay trapped in something that already happened, something that only exists in the way you choose to remember it. The offense was a moment, but resentment, if you don't release it, can stay with you for years, even decades. And as long as you keep holding it, it's your energy that's drained, your body that pays the price, your spirit that ages before its time. Science backs this up. Studies on the health benefits of forgiveness show that people who forgive regularly have lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and better heart health. The body doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a prolonged emotion. If you're holding a grudge, you live in a constant state of alert, as if the conflict is still happening, draining your vitality for no reason. So here's your mini challenge. Tonight, close your eyes and release one of those names you've been carrying. Don't text them. Don't try to make them know. Do it for you. Feel what it's like to not wake up tomorrow with that same heaviness in your chest. Because forgiveness isn't a gift to them, it's an act of personal freedom. And every time you choose to forgive, you don't just heal invisible wounds. You reclaim energy for the life you still have ahead. And if you think this has power, wait until you see what happens when you welcome into your life a practice even deeper than forgiveness. One that not only frees you, but multiplies what you have. Number 9, be grateful, like a warrior who's still alive. There's a name that, despite being centuries old, still echoes when we talk about resilience, health, and determination: Miguel de Cervantes. Most people know him as the author of Don Quixote, but few remember that Cervantes didn't live an easy, comfortable, or even healthy life by today's standards. He lost the use of his left hand after being wounded at the Battle of Lepanto. He spent years in prison. He lived in poverty, hounded by debt, and faced constant rejection. And still, in the later years of his life, when most would have given up, he wrote the most important work in Spanish literature. Where did Cervantes find the strength to keep going, to create, to resist when everything seemed stacked against him? Scholars agree on one thing: he practiced something we often overlook: defiant gratitude. Not naive gratitude that only shows up when life goes smoothly, but a conscious, steady kind that doesn't depend on circumstances. The Stoics spoke of this kind of gratitude. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Stoic gratitude isn't shallow thankfulness. It's the recognition that simply being alive, here and now, scars and all, is already reason enough to rise again. And science is catching up. Recent studies have shown that people who practice gratitude regularly, not just saying thanks but living it, have lower levels of inflammation, better sleep, reduced risk of depression, and, interestingly, stronger immune systems. It's not magic, it's biology. When you train your mind to focus on what you do have instead of what you've lost, your body responds like it just dropped a heavy load. So here's a simple but powerful idea. Every morning, before the usual worries creep in, think of just one thing you're grateful for: your breath, a warm cup of coffee, the light coming through the window. Do it every day, like sharpening a sword. Not because life is perfect, but because you choose how you'll face it. Cervantes, with his useless hand and his darkest years, leaves us with a lesson. Gratitude isn't for the complacent, it's for the warriors. For those who know that every day they wake up is a chance to write one more page, even when the body aches, even when life doesn't cooperate. And if you've made it this far, let me tell you, the real challenge doesn't end with gratitude, because there's a habit even deeper, one that transforms not just your health, but how every single day unfolds. And now, it's time to reveal it. We've walked together through a path filled with truths, not always comfortable, but absolutely necessary if we want to live with strength, dignity, and independence, even as the years go by. Today wasn't about quick fixes or empty promises. It was about ancient habits, about small but powerful choices you can make every day to protect your health and, above all, to hold on to that inner vitality no one can take from you. I'm Gabriel, and if you've made it to this point in the video, I want to acknowledge you. Not everyone is willing to sit with these truths until the end, but you did. That says a lot about your commitment to yourself. That's why I want you to leave this phrase in the comments. My health is in my hands. And also tell me where in the world you're watching from. I'd love to hear from you and from everyone who, like you, has chosen not to give in, not to surrender to decline, without first fighting back, with wisdom. If this video gave you a new insight, a helpful tool, or even just a moment of reflection, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We'll keep sharing content here that doesn't just inform, but awakens. And if you know someone, a friend, a sibling, a parent, who needs to be reminded that they can still care for their body and mind, send them this video. Sometimes a single word arrives at exactly the right moment. Thank you for staying with me until the end. And always remember, every day is a chance to choose how you want to live it. Health, strength, and peace aren't gifts that fall from the sky. They're the result of the care and determination you invest today. I'll see you soon. Take care of yourself with intention and with courage.